Hello and welcome to DFS Coach Talk. It is Wednesday, June 17th, 2020. I am Andrew Hanson alongside DET Sports Shane Caldwell, as we get ready to break down the KBO slate for tomorrow morning, the 18th. Shane, I know you've been up in somewhere near Detroit, just breaking down the KBO for the last few days. I haven't seen you for a few days. Great to be back on with you. How are you tonight?
I'm doing good. Yeah, we're in the Eastern time zone up here in Michigan, but I feel like I'm a little bit more on the Korean time zone. What are they? Is it 13 hours? 13 hours ahead of us, I think.
Sounds about right.
So I'm more on that time zone than the Michigan time zone. We're often up there 4 to 5 a.m. Our time is when we get up to verify our lineups and everything. And we're usually crunching these lineups up until 11 or 12, verifying and finalizing things. So so we're on KBO time. So let's get after another slate here and get some winning lineups rolling.
Absolutely. Yeah, I feel like I'm on two different time zones. Like it's like two different days that don't overlap very well when they're about 12 hours apart.
Yeah, you're living a double life.
Yeah, it's challenging. And today's a double header. I did the Pga podcast this afternoon with Coach. So anyone who's listening after you finish this one, if you want to play some PGA this week, pull up our Pga podcast. All of these podcasts are available wherever you can find podcasts. We also have videos up on YouTube if you're listening and you want to check us out. We'd love to have you on YouTube, and we'd appreciate all your support there with a thumbs up, 5-star review wherever you're listening. But like you said, Shane, we've been breaking down the KBO, having a lot of fun with it with our members. We provide lineups in Discord for FanDuel and then a player pool on DraftKings. We've had a lot of success, and we're just kind of cruising along here. It's day 39, and it's been a blast. So let's get into it here. This one is going to start at 5:30 a.m. Eastern. And the big news is we have one game likely to rain out. That's the Dinos and Kia, which is quite a pitching matchup. We'll get to that briefly, but we're basically going to approach this slate as if it's a 4-gamer. That's how we're going to do it. And as for the other 4 games, I'm going to give you the odds for each one. And of course, I'm going to do that with mybookie.ag. They're one of our sponsors here. Go to mybookie.ag for all your sports wagering and casino action. And we have an exclusive offer for Coach Talk members. You get a 50% sign-up bonus up to $1,000, and you get a $25 free play for joining. So you can do that at our website. Just go to dfscoachtalk.com, and you can see that. You can see that offer. The promo code is Coach Talk. And then we're also brought to you, of course, by TVG. TVG is where the world watches and wagers on horse racing. We also have a terrific offer from them on our website. It's a $300 risk-free bet for new members. So go onto our website, click on that, and you can take advantage of that wonderful offer from TVG. So let's get into game one of the slate here, Shane. It's the KT Wiz against the SK Wyverns, and the line on mybookie.ag is KT's favored minus 153. Over/under is only 8.5, which is low for this league. Two solid pitchers here: Despaigne for KTW and Jong-hoon Park for SK, who 3-1 record, 3.83 ERA. So where are you looking here? Are you interested in either of these pitchers, any of the hitters?
The pitchers, it is tricky because the lower over-under, Despaigne has been very inconsistent. He's had some big games where he's gotten blown up. He does have a little bit of talent. But the SK Wyverns have been a little bit better lately with their lineup. Batting, I know, so Jaeyoung Cho and Jamie Romack have been heating up. I mean, they've just been pretty solid lately. It's really hard to trust Despaigne. He's more of a GPP play to me, just because he's kind of volatile. He can get strikeouts. He's at 19.3% strikeout rate, and SK has traditionally been a pretty good matchup but this is a hitter's park. So even though it's a low total, it is a good hitter's park. And I think that the SK Wyverns are heating up a little bit. So I'm not that comfortable for cash games for Despaigne. Maybe if you're building multiple GPP lineups, that's kind of where I'm at with them. And Jung Hoon Park is not bad, but he's got a great strikeout percentage, K percentage of 25.4%. So he's done really well there. The thing that makes me a little nervous is the KT Wiz. If they get the guy that I'm going to talk about, I really like is that Baco King back. Typically batting third for him is a power hitter, and then you combine him with the other power they have in the lineup, Mel Rojas Jr., one of the best hitters in this entire league. I don't really like that matchup against those guys. So that's the issue there. So it's a little hard to trust Park. So both of these pitchers are kind of more GPP guys that you can get at probably a lower ownership. A little bit hard to trust them there. Okay, and then for the hitters, I do like a couple one-offs, one or two guys maybe from the KT Wiz. I like Baco King, as I mentioned. And Baco King this year batting .337, 8 home runs, and 19 RBIs. Now, he did have a little bit of a hamstring soreness this week, so we got to look and see, make sure he's in the lineup. He came in last night as a designated hitter, came in late in the game, hit a home run. He was running around the base path. So as long as he didn't aggravate his hamstring, he should be a good to go tonight. He's got the platoon advantage against Park. Park can give up some home runs, some long balls. Baco King, 5,900 on DraftKings, $16 on FanDuel. And I think because he is a little questionable on the injury report on DraftKings, it says day-to-day. I like him as a little bit lower ownership play. And then, of course, I still like Mel Rojas Jr. Batting fifth at 5,500. DraftKings, $16 on FanDuel. Mel Rojas Jr. is one of the best power hitters in this league. And Yan Jun Yo is a good value play. He bats cleanup for them typically, and he plays outfield. And he's only 3,600 on DraftKings or $12 on FanDuel. So I'm not scared of the matchup with Park where I wouldn't play those guys. So I do like those guys. And then on the SK Weinfern side, I'm not that interested in them. But Jaeyoung Cha has been very hot lately. He's $14 on FanDuel, $5,000 on DraftKings. So he's a good one-off to play. And then Jamie Romack has been pretty good as lately, but I don't know if I like him as much tonight against Despaigne. What do you think about this game? What any other picks you got there?
Yeah, so it is interesting how it's a bit of a mixed feeling on both matchups. You mentioned Despaigne has been struggling, 3 straight poor outings. But the one thing I noticed is that the hits have been trending down. The Ks have been trending back up. So, trending in the right direction to go against this poor hitting SK team. And you mentioned their best power hitters of Jung Cha and Romack, but righties are only hitting .250 against Despaigne. So I do like him as a GPP play. Lefties are hitting .309 against Despaigne. So the leadoff hitter that Coach and I talked about yesterday, Ji Hoon Cha, at 2,500, he's a nice value in the outfield if you need a cheap bat.
Yeah.
As for the other matchup, I don't like going against the Wiz either. And I like all those bats you mentioned. But some numbers that are really important to mention, I think, for Jong Hoon Park, the SK pitcher, opposing lefties are only hitting .233 against him this season, and opposing righties are only hitting .230 against him. So it's a little bit surprising that he has a 3.83 ERA. His WHIP is only 1.2. And you mentioned his good strikeouts, 42 strikeouts in 40 innings. He's been really steady, but just hasn't quite worked out with the ERA. So because he seems to be a little bit more effective than the price tag and some of these numbers would suggest, I'm going to shy away a little bit from these KT bats that I usually like to attack.
Yeah, I think with Park, it's he has a really pretty good WHIP and ERA. I think his FIP is 4.05. It's a little higher. So it's an indicator he's given up some home runs and he's walking some people, letting people on the base path. So that's how they're kind of scoring against him. So being that you do have power there, that's why it's not necessarily a stack, but if you take one of these guys, whether it's Kang or Rojas or Yo, if you like a cheaper guy, those are definitely guys that can hit a home run, that can hit for power in this matchup. And it's also a hitter's park. So matter of fact, it's the best hitter's park. So it's the shortest distance for a home run, best hitter's park on the slate here. So that's why I kind of like the upside for home run capability here for those power hitters in that 3, 4, 5 slot for the KT Wiz here. But yeah, definitely not a team you want to build the core around. So yeah, it's a tricky game because both pitchers are pretty good. But both pitchers make you a little nervous at the same time. So It's going to be GPP. But I think you're right with Despaigne. People are going to look at those game logs and they're going to see how bad he was the last few games. And they're going to stay away, which means you're going to get him at really low ownership. So you can definitely get the edge there in GPPs if you play him and he does actually go off and actually get the win against a pretty good matchup here. And I could see him racking up some strikeouts here too. I think it's SK is one of the highest strikeout percentages. Their batting order is like 18.6, so it's pretty high. So yeah, that's a plus there. So yeah, definitely more GPP plays, but pretty low ownership here for these guys.
Yeah, excellent. All right, well, let's move to game 2. And this is a game that I think we're probably going to use a little bit more to build our core, right?
Yeah.
So that is LG against Hanwha. Yes, Hanwha won 2 in a row there to break that 18-game streak, but they're still 9-29 going against Tyler Wilson. And according to mybookie.ag, the line is LG's favored heavily, -357. Over-under is 9.5. They're facing a pitcher from Hanwha with an ERA of 7.48 and a WHIP of 2.24. That's Shi Huan Jiang. So I know you're interested in LG here. Are you interested in both Tyler Wilson on the mound and the LG bats?
Yeah, definitely. Tyler Wilson is pretty reasonably priced. I mean, he's kind of middle price there. He's $8,200 on DraftKings, $26 on FanDuel, kind of a nice mid-price point there. Anytime you're going against Hanwha, 19.4% strikeout rate. So even though Tyler Wilson is not a really high strikeout guy, you could have a ceiling game here for his strikeouts because of the matchup. So it's just a great matchup, and the chances of him getting the win and the quality start are pretty good here. I like on FanDuel, you're going to get basically, if you can get a win and a quality start, it's like a 10-point bonus. So if you pair that with the 10-point bonus for win, quality start, and increased strikeout percentage here, increased strikeout capabilities with this matchup, I like him, and I don't think he's going to give up a lot of runs. So Tyler Wilson's definitely one of those main targets, especially since we lost a couple. We may be losing a couple of the top pitchers on the slate due to a rainout with that Kia NC Dinos game there. Yep. So definitely like Tyler Wilson, and then I like on the LG side, Roberto Ramos is one of the top sluggers in this entire league. That guy is just on fire, and he had a little bit of an injury, and he's been out for a few days. So he's been out for, I think, about 5 days. And we're expecting him to come back. So it's one of the guys that I like because some people are going to look at that on DraftKings. It still has an IL next to his name, which means people are going to be like, oh, he's injured, just skip him, right? If you're not paying attention. The fact that he's going to come back, you will want to wake up and check your lineup locks at around 5 a.m. Eastern time. But the point is, Ramos, you can get him at 5,300 on DraftKings. His price finally went up. It was in the 4,000s he was underpriced on DraftKings for a while, but 5,300 is still good for him. $17 on FanDuel. I really like Ramos batting clean up there against Jiang. The pitcher from Hanwha is not a very good pitcher. And then they pretty much most of their lineup here. I like Hyun So Kim is he's going to be batting second most likely. 5,400 on DraftKings, $14 on FanDuel. And then Young Sung Che is $3,300 on DraftKings and $12 on FanDuel. So he remains to be very low priced on DraftKings as well at 3,300. And then the other guys you have is the leadoff hitter Chung Wong Lee at 3,400 is also value priced for DraftKings and only $9 on FanDuel. And then I still like Kang Nam Yu, the catcher. He's only $3,900 or $8 on FanDuel, really cheap on FanDuel. And then another guy, he unfortunately does bat lower in the order, probably in the 8 slot, is Ji Hwan Oh at $3,100, and then he's only $9 on FanDuel. So there's a lot of good guys here. I know that you did a little more research and looked at matchups from last year with Jang, and there's a few guys that did well and a few guys that you were a little nervous about here. So which guys do you like the best here?
Well, I like Ramos in general. For the reasons you mentioned, coming back from injury, so hopefully he'll be a little bit lower owned with that IL tag next to his name on DraftKings. But 13 homers, he's just crushing the ball, and to face off against Jang with the big ERA, he's given up 4 home runs in only 27 innings. Lefties are batting .349 against him. He's one of these guys. He tops out at about 89. And he does mix in a lot of breaking balls and pitch backwards. So he'll start off batters with breaking balls, try to keep people off balance. But the stuff's just not good enough to beat Ramos. So he's going to be a core guy in my lineup. Because Ramos is new to the league, he hasn't faced Jang. But as you mentioned, I looked at the matchups from 19 for these guys. And right at the top of the order, C. Lee went 1 for 2 in the first matchup and then 2 for 3 against him. So nice history there. H. Kim in the 2-hole, who you mentioned, the expensive outfielder, had a walk and a double in the first outing against him. Che, the third baseman, was 1 for 2 and 0 for 2. KU, the catcher you mentioned, who we've been playing a lot lately, he was 0 for 4 against him across 2 matchups. So not great, but he's been so hot lately that I agree that it makes sense to have him in the player pool. So
price is still pretty low there. So
yeah, it's under 4K on DraftKings, and so this is going to be an area for us to stack for sure. 1 through 6, and even down to 0 if you want that cheap shortstop. I mentioned lefties are hitting .349 against him, righties are hitting .322 against him. So everybody's had success. So we're going to have a lot of LG bats in our lineup. And on the flip side, since we're going to go with Wilson, no reason to get any of these Hanwha bats, correct?
No, I don't think you want to get cute with the Hanwha bats there. That would be a really large pool GPP dart throw there. I don't think we need to really talk about the any of the Hanwha bats here.
I agree.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's move to game 3, because this is another game that I think is going to be important as we build out the core of our lineup. It's Lotte traveling to Kiwoom. Lotte is the -153 favorite, over under 9.5. And Lotte has one of their horses going. It's Dan Straley, 7,600 on DraftKings. He only has 1 win, but his ERA is 2.08. His WHIP is 1.11. In his last 4 starts, he's only given up 2 earned runs total. And he's averaged 6.25 strikeouts over that stretch. Now for the season, 50 strikeouts in 47 2/3. So he's been excellent. Just unfortunate that he only has 1 win. But I'm excited about him. What are your thoughts on Straley tonight? You going to fire him up?
Yeah, I think that we were talking earlier about Wilson versus Straley on FanDuel, and I like both of them. Straley is more expensive on FanDuel, for example, at $28, but on DraftKings, he's cheaper at $7,600. So Straley does look really good here. He's going to be much more likely to get a win tonight because he's going up against a really bad pitcher on the other side, Sung-Ho Lee. And I think that the Lotte bats are heating up, and they're in a great matchup. So he's actually probably going to get some run support where he hasn't this year much at all, which is why he hasn't won, because like you said, he's pitching excellent. I like his upside for strikeouts at a 26.2% strikeout rate, and Kiwoom does strike out quite a bit at 18.6% strikeout rate here. So definitely like that there. Kiwoom's been kind of hot and cold, up and down, but we did mention, talked about earlier how there are 2 big sluggers. Byung-Ho Park is out, and Dongwon Park is going to be out at least another day. So you take out those power hitters, and aside from Jung-Ho Lee, they don't really have anyone that's too intimidating. So fire up Dan Straley here and that definitely he's one of the best pitchers on the slate here. Him and Tyler Wilson, and I think maybe paying up the extra couple dollars is probably worth it on FanDuel. Hopefully, he can get the win and the quality start, and he has high upside for strikeouts here. Kiwoom is still a pretty good lineup, but I think that they're pretty high strikeout rate, which is good. And then for that brings us to Lotte. I really like their top 5 hitters here. They're heating up big time here. So their leadoff hitter, Hoon Jung, I believe he's the guy that just came back from injury. Isn't he
Correct.
the one that just came back? He's really solid, bats for a high average, and not necessarily a power guy, but definitely a high average, really good. He's 3,900 on DraftKings and $9 on FanDuel, so he's good value there. So he's a guy that you have to look at because it's a great matchup. He's batting leadoff on the road. He's definitely getting a lot of at-bats, a lot of production there in this matchup, and people aren't really thinking about him because he just came back from injury. And then you got the 3-hitter here is Jung Woo Jian, and he's solid $4,500 on DraftKings, $12 on FanDuel. He can also hit for power as well. And then Daho Lee, the old veteran there, he's really still pretty underpriced on FanDuel at $10, and he's 4,200 on DraftKings. And Dixon Machado is at the 5-hole there, has been heating up lately, and he's still only $10 on FanDuel, 4,300 on DraftKings. So some nice mid-price guys here. And then Asiap Son is still, even though it's a lefty on lefty, he's still pretty solid matchup there. So really this whole top 5 lineup, you can stack the Lotte Giants here again in this matchup, and they're in a good position. Are you feeling the same way here about this matchup?
I am. Yeah, I want to get some bats here from Lotte. I don't like Assumpcion as much tonight. Lefties are only hitting 250 against Sung Ho Lee, but the righties up there, righties are hitting 312 against him with 5 homers. So Jay Gian, you mentioned his power. He's up to 7 home runs now. Daiho Lee has 6 homers now. Machado has been heating up. I think he's 5 for his last 12. He's overpriced at 4,300 because for the season he's only hitting 246 with 4 homers and 24 RBI. So he had a lot of power early, and now he's getting some base hits again. So he's overpriced on DraftKings, but to complete a stack, he's going to be in my player pool as well.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you mentioned the big boppers being out for Kiwoom. It really takes the pop out of this lineup without either Park. So feel even stronger about Straley. So I agree. If he can just navigate Jung Ho Lee, he should be in a good spot. So, all right, let's move to Game 4. We'll just touch on it briefly because this is the Dinos against Kia. We're expecting it to rain out. It is going to be a pitcher's duel if they play. So this will be a good time to mention membership. If you want to join DFS Coach Talk, go to our website, dfscoachtalk.com. Pick up one of our memberships, weekly, monthly, or annual. And then what you'll get right now is every night that the KBO plays, 6 days a week, we're providing a FanDuel lineup to our members and then a player pool on DraftKings. So we'll be up in the middle of the night, about 4:45 Eastern, checking the lineups, and we'll make any switches we need to make on the FanDuel lineup and provide that to our members. So we'd love to have you join us. And the nice thing about joining with a monthly or annual membership right now is that will be good all the way until the end of August, because NBA won't start until July 30th. So great time to join. We'd love to have you. So we'll mention it very briefly, but it's Koo, an absolute stud going for the Dinos. He's 5-0. His ERA is under 1. His WHIP is way down at 0.69. 52 strikeouts in only 48 innings, and he's under 10K. We've seen some of these Dinos aces lately be above 10K. He's only 9,400. So if we get a change in weather, Shane, do you agree we should be ready to pivot and get him in some lineups?
Yeah, because there's so much other good bats in this slate here. You don't really have to risk building a lot of lineups for, if this game doesn't rain out with the bats. But the guy that you have to get in there is Koo here. He's clearly the ace here, 30% strikeout rate. This guy's just been ridiculous. He's just a completely shut down ace pitcher. I mean, he's probably by far the best pitcher in the league right now. And Kia is really not that great. They're decent. They got a little bit of power, but Tucker and Cha for them hasn't really been running that hot. And those are their power guys up in their lefty. So it'd be lefty on lefty, which Koo is going to be favored in that matchup. So if this game does play, I think you have to hop on Koo. It's up to you whether you want to pay up for him on FanDuel because he's $30. But if there's late news and people already build a bunch of FanDuel lineups without him and they got him locked in and they don't check the weather and all of a sudden the game plays, you might be able to gain an edge there because this guy has tremendous upside all around the board there. I mean, if the game plays, you pretty much have to lock him in. If you feel like the storms have cleared out and the field's in good enough condition to be able to play, then you have to pretty much lock him in one of your pitching slots on DraftKings. It's really hard not to. It's just going to come down to the weather. The weather doesn't look good. I mean, I saw some projections that it might clear closer to game time, but you're talking like it's raining like all day, like it's going to be completely soaked there. So I can't imagine I don't know I'm not exactly sure if they cover the field completely or what the field conditions are. So we're going to have to keep a close eye on that. But yeah, that's the main guy. I would build some lineups with Koo from NC so that you're ready in case this game does play. Other than that, you can if you want, but you don't really have to mess with a lot of these hitters because it's a pitching duel. Because on the other side, you got Drew Gagnon. What are you thinking here? You thinking about the same thing?
Yeah, I'm right with you. I'm going to build my primary lineup without this game. I'm going to assume that it's not going to be played. I may build one lineup with Koo to be ready to pivot quickly. But in general, I think we should just pass this game and put all of our energy into building with the other four. So.
Yep. Yeah, I think we can go on to game number 5, right?
Let's do it. It's Samsung at Doosan. Doosan is big favorite, minus 200. Over-under is 10.5. Doosan has a veteran going, Hui Kwan Yu, the lefty who was a little bit better last year with an ERA of 3.25. WHIP was 1.28. This year, his ERA is up to 4.14. He's got a 1.59 WHIP, but he is 4-1. It helps to be playing for the Bears with all those power hitters. So he's facing off against Samsung, who's been pretty hot lately. They've won 7 of 10. And then on the other side, we've got a youngster, Yoon Dong Hyo, 18-year-old lefty, who's been pretty solid here in his first 2 starts. And thankfully for him, he is the lefty going up against these power-hitting lefty Bears. So what are your thoughts on this game, Shane? We don't have much room left in our lineups because we've used so many of the LG and Lotte players. But
I think the main takeaway here is if you're looking for some good value on FanDuel, if you want to get guys, I have 3 guys from Samsung that has a pretty good matchup against you here, and they've been running a little hot lately. And you have 3 guys on FanDuel from Samsung, $7, $8, and $9. So starting at $7, you got Hak-Ju Lee, typically batting 5th, shortstop there. I'm not too worried. I think even if it's a lefty on lefty, I'm not too worried about the matchup there.
Yeah,
for
Shane,
$7,
lefties are hitting 345 against you. They don't have any home runs, but they've hit for a good average. Righties have the power against him with 4 homers, and they're batting 281 against him.
Awesome. Yeah. So Hak-Ju Lee is a really good value at only $7. The guy has a little bit of power, and he's definitely a very good hitter. And then at $8, you got Won-Suk Lee. He hasn't done a lot lately, but he is a cleanup power hitter here. So on FanDuel at $8, if this guy hits a home run, it's incredible value for you, and that could really set you apart in the lineups. So look out for Won-Suk Lee, and then Tyler Saladino is batting 3rd typically, and he's only $9, and he's been really pretty hot lately, and again in a great matchup, and he's a righty, so platoon advantage there. So you can't really ignore those Samsung guys, not guys that you typically think about stacking, but at those prices. If you want to get them on DraftKings, they're a little more expensive. They're going to range from 4,100 to 4,600, so a little bit more expensive. The nice thing about that, though, if you do decide to take those guys and they go off, like I think they have a chance to, you're going to get them at super low ownership, potentially like single digit or low teen ownership here, because people are not wanting to pay up, $4,600 or $4,300 for a Won Soak Lee from Samsung, because there's so many other good plays here. But that's the type of guy that differentiates your lineup there. So I kind of like them for value on FanDuel and as a low ownership on DraftKings that people are not thinking about at all. So that's the nice thing about them there. And then for Duzan, that's a little tricky there because Fernandez has not been running hot. He's been kind of in a slump, and he's been traditionally one of the best hitters in this league. And they feel like they've been pitching around him, and some of the other power hitters around him haven't been playing as well, so they're not respecting those guys. So they're very happy just to pitch around Fernandez and get to those other guys that are hitting for a really low average there. So maybe you can find a couple hidden gems since this. You really know a lot about the Doosan Bears here. Maybe you can find a couple hidden gems, but normally it's a team that you would definitely stack. But I'm not really loving them, even though they're going up against a super young, inexperienced pitcher here.
Yeah, I'm going to primarily stay away from my Doosan Bears tonight because of the lefty-lefty matchup. Lefties are only hitting 167 against Hio. It is a small sample size, but he's been really solid here out of the gates. So I'm gonna fade these lefties mostly. As for the righties, righties are hitting 357 against him so far. The leadoff hitter K Park we like, but he's day to day. He may not play. And then Jae-Ho Kim, who's likely to hit in the 5-hole, is more of an average guy. He's 358, but only one homer, 16 RBI. So that's a value play you could throw in as a one-off.
Yep. But 2,900, on DraftKings is pretty solid
right.
there.
Yep. Exactly. But for the most part, I'm going to avoid these bats. And I'll circle back to Samsung. Like you said, I think if you're building multiple lineups on DraftKings, I think it's worth one where you get a little mini stack of Samsung. The problem is both guys you mentioned are third base eligible. Yes, you can put Saladino in the outfield, but another guy who you might want to include in the stack, the leadoff hitter, Sang-Soo Kim, he's eligible at third base and second base. So you can't really stack all these guys together. If you get Hak-Ju Lee in there as a shortstop, then okay, you can do that. But that's just one thing to note. So there you have it. There's our 5-game slate. Shane, I want to mention social media here. On Twitter, you are available at DET Sports Shane. That's DET for Detroit, of course. You can find me on Twitter at Language Olympic. You can find the one and only Joe Sarvadi on Twitter at JoeSarvadi. The team is available at DFS Coach Talk. And Shane, you run the Instagram page. What's our where can folks find us over there?
It's DFS underscore Coach Talk. I had to think about it a second. Yep.
Absolutely. So we would love your support on social media. We'd love to interact with you. You can see some of our winning lineups up there. So a lot of fun stuff. We are a new entity. We were born in early 2020, so we're just cranking up here, having a great time. Coach likes us to mention the charity MambaOn3.org. That's MambaOnThree.org, set up by Mrs. Bryant for the families of the individuals who perished in that terrible accident. So take a look at that. Shane, did I hit everything here?
Yeah, I think you hit everything. Are you gonna do a call of the night? How about you do a call of the night here? Who's gonna get? Give me someone who's you feel like you have a good chance for a long shot here. Since I always do the call of the night, let's have you do one now.
Oh wow!
Yeah, put the pressure on you.
Not feeling it. Okay, you know what? Let's go with Ramos. I'd say if he's going to suit up, he's going to be ready to go. Jang likes to give up long balls, so Ramos. Can you endorse that?
Yes, that's kind of
Okay.
where I was leaning. And I, like I said, if we can get him a little lower ownership, let's fire up Ramos tonight. And he's still reasonably priced. He's not, on DraftKings, pretty reasonable at 5,300. So awesome. We're ready for a
Excellent.
good slate here.
Yeah, we are.
KBO.
So thank you again to our sponsors, mybookie.ag and then TVG, where the world watches and wagers on horse racing. Check in with us again tomorrow. We'll have another KBO podcast. Coach and I will be on, and we'll be cycling all the way through the rest of the week with KBO. We'll also have another PGA show on Friday. So thank you all for tuning in on behalf of Detroit Sports Shane Caldwell and Joe Sarvati. I am Andrew Hanson, and we'll catch you again tomorrow on DFS Coach Talk.